Thank you so much, all of you, for joining us here today in this discussion about the usage of AI in Parliament, specifically on the research departments from Parliaments and Legislatures across Asia and the Pacific. It's my pleasure to greet you, to wish you good evening here from Brazil, or good morning or good afternoon, depending where you are. It's a pleasure to welcome such a distinguished group of experts in this panel today. Without further ado, and introducing the colleagues, I'd like to yield the floor to each one of you for you to introduce yourself, your role in the Parliament, on your organization, and how you relate to this topic on your interest on artificial intelligence in parliaments. If you agree, I'll do this alphabetically. Grant, would you like to start and introduce yourself to the colleagues?
Sure. My name is Grant Vergottini. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Xcential Legislative Technologies. We're a small company in San Diego, California. We focus on legislative drafting tools. We got our start building the drafting system for the state of California 23 years ago. I've worked, of course, with California. I've also worked in building the technologies for the codifying and updating the US code at the US House of Representatives in Washington. I've worked at the UK Parliament, Scottish Parliament, and the Hong Kong Department of Justice in their systems. I've also worked, another place I've worked is the Commonwealth of Nations on climate change laws. I'm also one of the 4 permanent members of the OASIS Legal XML Committee, and that's the committee that defines a Komantozo, the XML standard. And I am an instructor at the Lex Summer School at the University of Bologna in Italy. Next week, we have the Lex Summer School, and I'll be talking about this topic there as well. So that's just a little bit about me.
Thank you so much, Grant, for your introduction. Mas, would you like to introduce yourself to us as well?
Yeah, sure. First of all, I would like to say thank you again to Luís, my second participation with Legistech event. So my name is Liza, you can call me Liza. I'm a parliamentary researcher for Parliament of Malaysia. So basically, as a parliamentary researcher, we provide inputs for all of our MPs. In my case, I should be a non-partisan because I serve both the House of Representatives and also House of Lords. So my portfolio is specifically regarding science, technology, innovation, advanced technology. So I usually would write about science general, innovation, advanced technology, which I wrote actually for one of the articles for Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, the Parliamentarian Journal. And I was also just been elected as one of the advisory editorial board for the CPA journal. So I am glad today that I've been invited. It's an honor. I hope I can share my insight on what we are going to discuss today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mas, and allow me to be the first one today to congratulate you on your new position in the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association new journal and on the Parliamentarian Journal. It's a great accomplishment and a great publication. So congratulations for that.
Thank you very much.
I'd like to invite you, Tahir, to introduce yourself to the colleagues as well.
Yeah, thank you so much, Luís. I'm Tahir Farooq from National Assembly of Pakistan, serving as draftsman National Assembly since last 8 years, and I have the honor to be the PhD scholar on delegated legislation, which is going on and likely to be completed in the end of this year, inshallah, hopefully. And I am obliged and grateful to you because you always honored to participate in this event, and I always feel elevated and pleased to be a part of this conference. Now I feel it as my own forum. I love to join it at any time. And anyway, I always prefer to be here because I don't want to miss the opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Tahir, for being here with us today and for honoring us and for your participation. And allow me to invite Mr. Muralithas from the Parliament of Sri Lanka to introduce himself as well. Muralithas, please feel free to use the floor.
Yes, thank you so much for inviting to speak in this forum. It's a great pleasure for me. So I am Visvalingam Muralithas, working as a research officer at the Parliament of Sri Lanka. So I have done that master's in economics. At the same time, I'm reading the PhD in economics. My main role at the divisions, so to provide the background notes and speeches and in fact sheet. So the various products will be provided to the member of parliamentarian to make efficient policies in the parliament. So actually, I am so excited to share my knowledge and then experience and learn from a lot of expertise in the panel. So Sri Lanka is one of the beautiful country in the Indian Oceans. We have 22 million populations. At the same time, we have 225 parliamentarian in our chamber. So we are ready to select the new presidents in next 21st of September. So our countries are getting ready to choose the new presidents, and then the new presidents will help to enhance the new modern technology in the parliament and our nations. So we are ready to digitalize in our economy and then the digital country in the world. So I'm so happy to share my introduction on behalf of the Parliament of Sri Lanka. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Muralithas, for joining us today. It's a pleasure to see you again, my friend. Let's start this dynamic of today. I have planned a few questions to bring each one of you. And as you have noticed, each one of you has a very deep expertise, specifically on producing legislative information on your research offices, or in case of Tahir, as a legislative director, as a legal expert. And Grant is, as I usually say, our technology anchor. So he's going to say if everything we're saying make any sense at all or not. So allow me, I have drafted a few questions. Time permitting, we're trying to allow colleagues here in the audience to participate as well. Just for information, our staff is going to publish the recording of this discussion tomorrow morning in Brazil time. Given the time difference, many colleagues here in our region are not able to join us today. So I have been writing about this specific topic on how to use different AI technologies on research department. And I have came up with an interesting insight, which I'd like to hear first from Mas. The information produced by the research departments in parliaments are human-produced information by experts that dates back decades, if not centuries. So we are talking about the highest quality information that we have in the parliament about different topics. So, and one of the main challenges that we have today, amongst others, of course, but one of the main challenges in using generative AI in parliaments, it's ensuring its accuracy. How can we ground this particular tool on a specific data set? So it won't look out for that particular response on its vast database, but on a specific set of information that you limit the platform. So with that preamble, I'd like to ask first for Mas, considering an AI system that has been specifically trained on these comprehensive reports, analysis, and data generated by the research and the legislative department over the years, in your opinion, what distinct benefits could these specialized systems offer both to the members and to the public in comparison to let's say, a general AI model like ChatGPT that draws from information from outside of the parliament? What are your thoughts about this, Mas, if you can share your opinion?
Sure, Luis. So it can be varies in terms of benefit. We can get a lot of benefits from the AI. But before that, let me explain the overall situation within my department. How do we work as a parliamentary researcher? So basically, as a parliamentary researcher, we develop a few products of research. So altogether, after I look at overall of our product research, but this is not limited to, it can be various as well. We provide bills analysis, journal articles, conferences report, talking points for the MPs before they debate in the parliamentary sittings, debate notes, MP requests, so any particular information that the MP wants to have before they enter for the debate in the parliamentary sitting, we can also provide that. We also involved in the draft of resolution speech for any conferences that the MPs are attending inside or outside of Malaysia, and also draft resolution review. So all of these product research that we develop within our department is based mostly on three things: our main reference, which is the Constitution, the standing order of our parliament, and also Hansard, whatever has been debated within the parliamentary setting. So when you use a specialized AI to analyze all of these products within the guideline, that the three things just now I mentioned, I believe that it can provide a deep understanding in terms of the legislative process, in terms of the historical context of a legislative input, and also specific terminology. Usually, when it comes to legislative, we go for the legal terminology, and it's not the same as what ChatGPT can actually produce. So that's why it is important to have a specialized AI. That's the main benefit, I think. But also, when I look at it, is that the specialized AI can also assist in tracking the progress of the legislation. As you know, any legislation takes a long time. Sometimes it can be months, it can be years. And sometimes when the process is so complicated, we can start from scratch just because it doesn't have a majority vote. So by using AI, it can definitely help us in monitoring the progress of the legislation. It can also monitoring debates, and also can identify key areas, because sometimes the debate issue is so vast. There's so many things that has been discussed. So AI can actually help time consume to like identify which are the specific issue that we want to focus on. And also, I think one of the most important things that I believe is that by using all of this data, the specific data, especially in terms of in a parliamentary setting, AI can actually generate policy recommendation. So from there, you could save a lot of time, and you also can give a more accurate data and inputs that the parliamentarian needs, and also for us researchers to do our research. So for me, that's what makes it a benefit from the specialized AI.
Thank you so much, Mas, for your opening response on this. Muralithas, allow me to invite you to share your thoughts about this topic as well. What are your thoughts? How can specialized AI tools created for the usage of the Parliament can help in the work of the research departments in comparison to, let's say, a more general purpose like ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, any others?
Yes, after COVID-19 pandemic, we realized the importance of the modern technology in our day-to-day life, especially in the research field. So, based on the parliament research, so we have millions of documents in our library and archives. So very valuable information. There are a lot of the Hansard reports, Hansard speeches, laws and other constitutions. A lot of publications have been digitalized in our library and archive. So information is one of the important to our legislative department. So in the crucial time, sometimes the members, we have more demand from the member of parliamentarian. So member of parliamentarian asking the information very quickly. So we can't take more time to search the documents as manually or in other ways. So we have to provide the information on time to take efficient and economically take best decisions to the on time. So in this, so that's the situations. We have to use the modern technology to rectify or search in the specific data or information. So that's why we are going to convert the AI technology or modern technology to provide accuracy and the correct information on time. So that's why the modern technology or AI play a vital role to provide accurate information on time. At the same time, we have limited resources. We have limited human resources in our research division. So the demand is very high. Supply of the human resources are limited. So we have to provide best service to the member of parliamentarian with limited resources. So there are big gap. Okay, demand is very high, supply is very limited. So how can we fulfill the maximum demand maximum demand? The demand is very high, so we have limited resources. How can we fulfill their expectations? So we have to use the modern technology, modern tools to provide sufficient information and data or fact. So we have to think in differently. So the COVID pandemic, we have realized the importance of the modern technology in the legislative sector. So we have to train our human resources, especially in the researchers at the parliament, how to use the modern technology tools. How they have to provide them training and capacity development program, and the member of parliamentary how to use our product. So it is very important to reduce the time and other cost. Okay, so the AI technology plays a vital role in the day-to-day life, not only in the research field, but also in the economy for the decision making. So now we have to enhance the modern technology with the with other parliament, other expertise. So we have to factor in and the countries. So some countries have well developed. European and American Congress, they have well developed. So we are in the Asian countries in AI technology. So our government of Sri Lanka, the parliament, has planned to invest on the AI technology in future, help of the international organizations and international expertise like our colleagues also can contribute to our technology development in future also. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Muralithas, for your considerations. Tahir, would you like to share your perspective? I know you're not from the research department specifically, but when it comes to producing legal information, you are the head of the legislative department in the National Assembly. So how do you view the usage of these new AI technologies that are specifically designed for the parliament in comparison, let's say, to these platforms as we discussed, like ChatGPT, for example? How is this impacting your department specifically?
Yeah, actually,
it's Muralithas, I'm
Yes.
sorry.
Actually, began the bottom level. Sorry. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi.
Tahir?
Yes. I am audible to all of you. Thank you so much. Keeping in view the previous discussion and the scenario and question which you have placed before me, I would like to add that no doubt this is a settled principle that all the legislation is research-based legislation. If we talk about the legislative process, then theoretically and jurisprudentially, any good legislation is always based on a good research data. Without proper research data, it is not possible to lead to the proper legislation. The core object of the legislation is always to provide maximum benefits and protection for the public at large. If you don't have any specific data for any particular issue or any subject, then it is not possible to lead for any good legislation. Legislation is never based on a person specific or object specific. The core object of the legislation is always to provide maximum rights and maximum benefits to the public at large. Hence, first of all, I just produce this theoretical point of view before this panel to highlight the importance of the research and the database which is to be used for any particular legislation. Hence, is the backbone of any legislation is always based on authentic data source and authentic research which is available for the drafter. Being the drafter or the draftsman, I always feel the deep need of authenticity of the data. As far as we talk about the artificial intelligence and support of the artificial intelligence in legislative process, definitely it is more than important than any other thing else. It is much more important than anything else because of the fact that when you don't have any research based and authentic data, authenticity of the data is the most important and core factor for any legislator and draftsman. So being the draftsman, I would not be able to proceed with much confidence and with much authenticity when I don't have any authentic data available with me. When we talk about the artificial intelligence in the current scenario and in the modern techniques, no doubt it is artificial intelligence is a time-saving procedure and also help us to cope with quick and urgent matters. Because if we are going to amend some law on specific and particular issue, then we need the parent law. When if we have the original and parent law with and before us, then it will be not difficult to adjust that particular amendment in that act or the parent law. And if you don't have the access to parent law as quickly as the demand of the parliamentarians is required, then definitely you will feel a step back and you will feel ashamed not to provide them assistance well within time as per their own demands. So definitely, this is not possible without artificial intelligence and without modern techniques. Because if I would talk about a particular aspect of the National Assembly of the Pakistan, then all the legislation which is passed by the Assembly or the Parliament is immediately put on the website of the National Assembly. Being the internal staff member of the National Assembly, it is very easy and quick for me to go through that particular piece of the legislation and find that either the proposed or the demand of the parliamentarian can be addressed by the existing law or there some amendment is mandatory. If we talk about the paper format and go to the library, then there are also many risks in addition to the wastage of the time when you go to the library and search for the particular law. After wasting so many hours, you will reach to that law and you might find the library is not updated according to the latest amendments. Then the risk of misconception and misleading of the existing library may always be there. Similarly, if the authentic data is available to you at your website, then it will be the time saving. At the same time, it will be the authentic for and supportive to you for drafting any legal for paper which is required by the parliamentarians. So conclusion is this: that without artificial intelligence, I don't feel so it is quickly possible to meet up the requirements of the time and the parliamentarians. Also, at the same time, if you need to compare the legislative proposal which is before yourself to the other parliaments in the world, you can also just get that data quickly on a single click from your artificial intelligence sources which might be available to you. So show in the current scenario, I don't feel so. Okay, without support of artificial intelligence, it is possible to survive in the modern parliaments. That's all. Oh,
Thank you
thank
so
you.
much, Tahir. It's very interesting how you made a bridge between the research and drafting. And now I come to you, Grant, to get your opinions. As we were talking to a colleague from Chile yesterday here in Brazil, it's not just about the quality of the information, which is undeniable, as the colleagues are sharing. Given it's a human-produced, expert-produced information, but also about the quantity and how we use these AI models to get those specific responses that we are looking for, be that for research purposes in this vast database, or even seeking out information to make inputs on the drafting of first versions of new legislation. So, as a technologist that works in Parliament and is very passionate about this, what's your take? How should we be careful and differentiate between these solutions that are either built for parliaments or those that are I wouldn't say transformed, but I would say made for they had their purpose changed and grounded with legislative data. So what's the difference between these solutions and common market solutions like ChatGPT? What is your take about this?
All right. So as you said, I'm the technologist, and I always feel like I'm the wet blanket who's always calming everyone down about AI. I built the drafting system for the state of California 20 years ago now. And when we took an old IBM mainframe system and modernized it with XML, and suddenly we had much more useful information instead of just plain text. We had useful information we could do things with. We had useful codes. We had useful legislation. And I was all very excited, and I could suddenly start making connections that didn't exist in the past. And so the first thing I thought once we'd finished that project was, what could I do with this information? How could we use that information to publish it, make it available to people who are researching legislation from the outside, make it more useful to the drafters on the inside? And I learned a lot in the process of trying to do that. And a lot of things I would never have expected to have to learn. The first thing I learned was that I had a very specialized knowledge of California's legislation. And you could read the legislation and you would never see a lot of the things I could see just by looking at it because I'd built the systems. I understood little intricacies that no system could ever learn because it wasn't documented, it wasn't explicitly there. But I knew it. I knew how to interpret things that were subtleties in the language. No one would know that. And no system, nothing like ChatGPT is ever going to know that. It's never going to be able to make those sorts of relationships. The second thing I learned was that the information that I was dealing with was highly sensitive, and that there was something called client-attorney privilege. And a lot of the information that would really help connect all the pieces together was behind the veil of client-attorney privilege. So the policy documents that explained why that legislation existed in the first place was not something I could use to connect things together. It belonged to the attorney and the politician that had arrived at that, and it had to be protected. So I couldn't make those connections. If you look at legislation, it's very mechanical. This is amended to read, that is amended to read. We're adding this, we're adding that. A lot of the why is hard to piece out programmatically unless you have access to the master document that's controlling why this happened, but that's protected. Suddenly that became a lot harder problem to solve. Then I started looking at other aspects of it. A lot of the paper documents that were written to be read by a human being. They weren't written to be used. So you'd see a citation. Okay, I can find that. I can click on it. I can find that reference. But what that citation is missing is the temporal information. What version of it? What particular version of that information are you pointing to? Laws are changing all the time. Legislation is evolving. When you see a reference, it was written in a somewhat casual way to be read by someone within a few days, and I'm trying to use that information down the road later on. I don't know what it's pointing to. I have to figure that out, and probably I'll figure it out incorrectly. So suddenly the problem gets a lot more difficult because the information is incomplete. There are gaps, there are holes. And so you need very specialized systems that can understand when there are gaps and know that there are gaps and not just jump to a conclusion. You have to have systems that can point them out and maybe help you fill in the gaps. You need to have systems that understand the legislative rules of your jurisdiction. One of the problems is a small vocabulary of legislative terms. We talk about amending and repealing and engrossing and all these terms. And then everywhere you go, they use them differently. And so any system that is going to have to understand the legislative environment in which it's working has to understand specifically how that terminology works in that jurisdiction. And that's difficult when you're building tools like me. I build tools. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a politician. I build tools for use by various legislations. And you have to be able to build those tools so that they can be themselves configured so that when they learn from the data set you provide them, they are knowing what it is they're looking at. They're not making false assumptions. So suddenly the problem becomes more complex. And that's the interesting step going forward, is how to overcome those. When I started in this field, I was really excited. This was the best application I had seen for XML. We've moved at such a slow pace in the years because of the complexity, and just the phenomenal complexity of legislation is not understood. It's not appreciated. Few people had looked at. Someone once said to me, "It's just paper. It's just words on paper. How could it be that hard?" It's what you can't see is that makes it hard.
Thank you so much, Grant, for the very interesting response. Before I bring my next question, I'd like to bring a comment from a colleague from the Chamber of Deputies of Mexico, Ms. Adela Santos. She says it's important to strengthen the ex-ante evaluation processes, that each parliament could use machine learning models that can predict the probabilities of success or failure of certain legislative initiatives based on the historical variables such as partisan alignments, changes, and public opinion and other contextual factors. She's saying that we should even think about simulating different legislative scenarios, allowing researchers to assess the potential impact of a legislation before its implementation, considering multiple variables and certainty factors. Before I move to my next question, Mas, would you like to share any comments on what the colleague just said?
Yeah, I can relate to that because as a researcher, when you try to find an info, like what Grant has said, some things are secrets. And even for Parliament, even for Malaysia, in our country itself, in my country, we have a specific act that protects specific information from being distributed to the public. So it's quite difficult when you want to do analysis. You want to use the information, but at the same time, you know that the information is actually confidential. So that's one of the restraints as well. So yeah, I actually wanted to ask Grant about it. Like, how do you create a mechanism in AI algorithm to make sure that, you know, these things are carefully written in the AI algorithm?
We're actually talking to various technology groups that do this. And that's my first question every time, is how do we segment the data? such that this will be possible. And they always assure me that it's possible, but I'm still learning myself how we can do it.
So basically, it's an ongoing process because if the technology itself is still new, right? So
the technology
step by step.
itself is still new. In a couple of weeks, I need to go up to visit IBM, and this is part of the question I have for them is, how would we do this with their technologies? They show me it's a common problem that they address, but I want to see for myself. I haven't yet figured out how this is accomplished. What ended up happening in California is they did a sanitation project where they stripped all that information out, took it out, but they took out a lot more information at the same time. So a lot of other things disappeared with that stripping of information.
Thank you so much, Grant. Thank you so much, Mas, as well. Tahir, would you like to comment on this question from the colleague of Mexico as well?
She was asking about strength and ex-ante evaluation process. As far as the evaluation process is concerned, I think it is more important because if we talk about the legislation and implementation of the legislation, as I earlier said, that there should be the pre-legislative scrutiny. There are two terms actually in the legislative process. One is called the pre-legislative scrutiny and second is the post-legislative scrutiny. Pre-legislative scrutiny basically give us the data for creation and need of that legislation. Similarly, the post-legislative scrutiny is the process through which you evaluate the effectiveness and benefits of that particular piece of legislation. So, see, that is the rightly question about the post-legislative scrutiny. If you have the antedated strengthening and implementation status of that particular legislation, then it would be any parliament, even in any part of the earth, must know about the implementation status of the laws, because once the parliament passes any law and it goes for the welfare of the public, then after that usually there is no process in the parliaments to evaluate the effectiveness of that piece of legislation. Without evaluating the effectiveness of that legislation, it is not possible to know the benefits of that particular law. So the question is basically ex ante evaluation. That is basically the same question which connotes the concept of post legislative scrutiny. There must be a proper post legislative scrutiny process in the every parliament. If I can talk about it more than anything else because my thesis is on the post legislative scrutiny proposal. That's why I can evaluate it, that there are few parliaments in the world which does have the proper systematic post legislative scrutiny process. This is new emerging concept in the world because to evaluate the effectiveness of any law there must be a process. We may evaluate on the basis of the data collected by artificial intelligence, but at the same time it should be streamlined. We must have a proper procedure to get the data about the scrutiny of the law, either it has achieved the proper goal or not for which it was legislated. That's all.
Thank you so much, Tahir, for your comments. Muralithas, would you like to comment as well on the ex-ante evaluation of a legislative proposal, considering the historical data of similar proposals to evaluate these certain factors that we don't necessarily can predict on our own. So how can we use AI for that? Machine learning, namely, as the colleague from Mexico mentioned.
Yes, I have to add with my colleagues. So the monitoring and evaluation, one of the important concept in that legislative sector, because any parliament, a lot of parliaments pass a lot of bills, become a act. So thereafter, we are not evaluate any act. We pump a lot of money in the budget. So the lot of ministries spend their money to the particular program or project or policies. So we are not evaluate what was happened, what are the success, or what are the failures, what are the reason for. So that we have enough laws, but in our experience, the Sri Lankan experience, so we pump a lot of money to for the various project and program. Unfortunately, we are unable to achieve or unable to find the expected target or output. So the problem is we don't have enough system to evaluate. Evaluation is not post-mortem. So the evaluation one of the tools to find the errors or solutions, problems. So thereafter, based on that evaluation, we can rectify the project or program. So in this field, we can use these tools, AI technologies, AI tools can be used, because in the monitoring and evaluation is one of the research. So this project, this evaluation can be done before the project, during the project, after the project. So that in this is 3 stages can be done, or 4. After finishing the program, we can evaluate the project or programs. So in this field or in the project, in the field, we can use this type of modern technology. AI can play a vital role, find the problems. Thereafter, we can find out the solutions. Thereafter, we can rectify the program, or adjust the policies, adjust the program, or change the program. So these are the modern technology to find the expected solutions. So our expectations is different, the output is different. So we are unable to achieve the expected outcomes also. So my suggestion is, so we have to use this tool for the evaluation project also. It might be very useful for the government and the parliament and the people also. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Muralithas, for your comments on this question. Allow me to bring my second question to you, Mas, if I may. In regards the challenges that the research departments, the legislative departments are facing, as you mentioned many times during Andy's first round, and in commenting what the colleague from Mexico just shared, these departments, your departments, they are producing quite a large amount of information, and sometimes the member, they just want a quick access to information to that particular topic, either to add on the speech or to bring to the Prime Minister's question or to propose a new piece of legislation. It can be multi-purpose, as we know. So in your view, what are the most significant challenges your departments are facing in organizing, accessing, and summarizing the vast amounts of information at your disposal? And how might different AI technologies, it doesn't have to be generative AI, it can be other technologies that you're using, how can they be utilized to overcome these challenges that you have possibly mapped on the department?
Okay, for this second topic, I think one of the biggest challenges that we have usually would be time, because time is very limited. And on certain days, whatever requests that we receive from all of the MPs are back to back. So it can be like in 1 week, we receive like 5 product of research, such as speech, talking points, debate notes, everything have to be done at the same time. So we do have a system, like my previous presentation with Legistack, where I presented about the electronic parliamentary research services system. So we consolidate all of these product of research into this one system. But the problem is that there is no AI or any technologies can actually gather all of this information and summarize it. Because sometimes time is so limited. If that kind of technology exists and embedded in our EPRS system, I think it can save a lot of time. So the thing is, we want a technology where we utilize a short time, but an accurate and also a summary of really detailed information that the member of parliament needs. But a second challenges, again, based on the previous question as well, about the confidentiality. So some of the information are very confidential. So it's not like we have the information, but how do we actually provide it within our writings, within our research? So like Grant said just now, if there is such a technology that can do like the best data grounding to actually understand the sensitivity of the information, how to segment the data, that would be great for me. And also another thing is that I noticed, even though for my department, we have the EPRS system, which help us a lot in terms of collecting all of our research product, all of our data. But the challenge goes to collecting the data, especially before digitalization happened in our department. Because legislative can go back years, you know. It can be a source of information that we can put within our research, within the legislative drafting. So I think that if there is some ways to collect all of this data, because some of the researchers have already, you know, they already pensioned. So the challenge is that whatever they wrote, whatever information they have, sometimes they bring it with them. So in order to, it's best if we can collect all of the data, because we need that to analyze it properly and also to have a bigger picture, dating back years ago. And another thing is, I realized that if there is a system of AI, I would love it can anticipate what should we focus on, like what the Mexico commented. So if it has a predictive feature, like what we should focus on before it being debated in the parliamentary sitting. So I don't know if such thing exists, but I think it would be great if you know, if Grant can develop a system like that, or if there is already a system like that in other parliamentary. I would love to hear my colleagues' opinion about that.
Thank you so much, Mas, for your comments on that and for this thought-provoking question at the end. Well, Muralithas, would you like to share your opinion on this?
Yes. Okay. So you already mentioned that a confidential. So the modern technology also one of the challenges for the confidential. So in our institutions there are several informations are very confidential. It might be more sensitive issues. So we are unable to share with a third party, even staff, even members with the members. So examples, there are a lot of committees are here. Sector Oversight Committee, there are COP committees, there are financial committees, defense committees. So some documents, some committee reports, some information of the committees are confidential. We are unable to share with other party members or other committee members also. So that documents cannot be provided to the other officers of the department also. So it might be storage in under the librarian. So the librarian, the custodian of the documents. So that officers has to take a permission from the Secretary General, the Parliament. Then he can provide the information. So this challenge is if you convert to the digitalized document, they all are in the cloud document, cloud source. So this is one of the challenges to how to protect the confidentiality of the documents. This is one of the challenges. Thereafter, another one, the accuracy of the documents, accuracy of the product. So the AI can generate the documents based on the original. So might be sometimes maybe the accuracy is doubtful of the product done by the AI or modern technology. So these are the basic problems of the technology device. Other challenges are the of our department or parliament. There are the infrastructure shortcoming, scarcity of the infrastructure. So we are not ready to convert fully modernized system. So the problem is that we were under the financial crisis in 2019. So then the COVID-19 economic crisis severely damaged our economy and our country. So now we got the IMF fund, IMF release. Now we are getting slowly pick up the economy. Our country is most dependent on tourism and the tea exports. So our country has to wait to adapt the modern technology in our division also. This is one of the scarcity of the resources in our parliament. At the same time, the other soft skills problems are here. So our staffs are fully ready to work with the modern tools and modern technology. This is one of the problem also we have. So the South Asian countries, so like in the India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, they don't have enough on the foreign assets. But India is well developed in the IT and the modern technology than Sri Lanka and the Pakistan or something. So we are behind the India. So behind the low or bottom level of the modern technology adoption. So the literacy level are very high in our country. Unfortunately, we are in the financial crisis. This is one of the crucial issues to adapt the modern technology. So the international organizations and the foreign expertise, we invite the scholars, especially in the AI technology, or the parliamentary like your companies have to visit as a scholars to train our people to improve the soft skill development. Examples, your companies also can visit our parliament to provide short-term technological courses, IT. So we call the expertise from the outside the parliament and the relevant institutions to improve the capacity development of the staffs also. These are the challenges and solutions. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Muralithas, for your comments on this topic. Tahir, would you like to share your thoughts as well? You're muted, Tahir.
Yes, thank you so much. As far as the challenges are concerned, I would like to add that with initially you talked about the quick access to the information. There is no second opinion upon the fact that in the latest and modern era, without adaptation of the modern technology and artificial intelligence, quick access is not possible. Quick access is only possible through artificial intelligence, not humanly possible, because when you go to the library and there is a proper procedure to find out the relevant book or the relevant law, and it may takes more time than the time you have to complete that particular assignment. So there is no doubt in it, without access to the modern techniques and modern technologies, it is not possible to cope up with the urgency of the matter. As far as the issue of summarizing the information is required, I feel so artificial intelligence may not be helpful to summarize any information in the particular context in which it was placed before the parliament or before the floor of the house. For example, if we talk about if we have to summarize any particular debate upon any particular issue by the prime minister or any other minister of the state, although I don't know about the system of the parliaments in other neighboring countries, but at the same time, if we talk about the Parliament of the Pakistan, we have special handwriting experts, shorthand experts who are sitting in the Parliament and used to write down all the words spoken by the Honorable Speaker or by Honorable Prime Minister at the floor of the House, and they then type it and put it on the website of the Assembly for the easy access to the public and the members. But if they are consisting of suppose 20 papers, no, I don't feel so it can be summarized in the same context and in the same parameters in 2 or 3 pages. And to summarize it artificially, I don't think so, because I'm not the expert of the latest technology. But I personally feel it is not possible to summarize that information in 1 or 2 pages without human interference. As far as the confidentiality of the information is concerned, I agree with all my other panelist colleagues that there are certain informations which are confidential. But I feel so artificial intelligence is so developed that any paper or the document which is not allowed by the admin to be opened or visited, as I feel that there are certain, being the employee of the National Assembly, I have no access to upload any paper to the website or official website of the National Assembly. It is our particular wing, IT wing, which used to upload the information after verification and all the pre-requirements for updation of an information. Similarly, the admin may have the facility, being not the expert of the latest techniques and software techniques, but I can presume that without interference of, without permission of the admin who is using that particular web page, the other person can access that unless it is not publicly accessible to the public. So confidentiality in one way can also be maintained and managed by the giving access to any particular information by the admin of that particular web page. As far as the implementation of artificial intelligence, I agree with my colleague who was talking before me from Sri Lanka, that literacy rate of about artificial intelligence is a much more dilemma in our region, because he's also from the Asia. So the same issues, literacy rate and financial crisis. He was urging you people to sponsor and subsidize your artificial intelligence to be adapted by the parliaments. So you must think about subsidizing and providing free of cost softwares to the parliaments so that they can be equipped with low cost in their own parliaments. These are the financial problems are across the Asian countries, no doubt, because in addition to the cost problems, I personally feel there are major problems are the issue of literacy and the political will. Because if there is a political will to implement any decision, then cost becomes a secondary. How much cost for any project, it becomes secondary option for that. But at the same time, when your parliament is consisting of 70% of not literate and not much educated people, then they definitely will not have the political will to implement such technologies which are not being used or adapted by themselves. If the parliamentarians are not equipped or having knowledge about that latest techniques, then definitely the public at large does not have access to these informations, and they are not supposed to use these informations when their parliamentarians are not equipped with that. That's all which I can add on it.
Thank you so much, Tahir. You covered very interesting points, and I will relay for Grant to comment. But Grant, in addition to comment what the colleagues just said, I would bring 2 additional elements for you to consider in your considerations. First of them, something the colleagues mentioned about the confidentiality of the information. We all know that data inputted in commercially available tools like ChatGPT, they are being used to train the model. So you're not keeping the information confidential. It's not on premises or the cloud. It does not have the safeguards to ensure the confidentiality of the information. So that's the first point I would add. And something that Tahir mentioned now about the digital literacy. One of the biggest revolutions, in my opinion, on recent endeavors on generative AI, it's the user interface. It's simple, it's intuitive, it's a conversational model. So you don't have to be an IT expert like 30 years ago. Can you share your thoughts on what the colleagues just commented, but also include these two specific points on your considerations?
Sure. So the first thing I want to just pick up on is what Maz said earlier. We're a technology house, so we don't do research ourselves, but we solve problems for people. One of the most common problems that people bring to us is the information they have, old documents, ancient documents that are in paper form, and they need to bring them up to date so that they can use that information. And because these are old documents, they don't follow modern formats. They sometimes are very inconsistent among themselves. We had recently, someone sent us a whole bunch of policy documents that were just policy. They weren't written in a structured way. And the documents they sent us, we could tell there was copied. You could see the whole 3-hole binders that this was paper they had copied and sent to us. How do we bring that forward? And with modern documents, we can write rules that are very precise on how we're going to translate the data forward. But we need to be able to use AI. We're looking at using AI type tools to take the older documents that have irregular formats and being able to piece them together and create a regularized format. I'm one of the members of Legal Document, Komentozo. And so we're all about getting the data regularized so that it's useful. How do we take old data, very old data? And we got sent some documents from when President Buchanan was the president of the United States. Whenever was that? That was in the 1850s. The documents were all over the place. They all look very different because they didn't have standards back then. So how can we write tools and use tools that can see that? So that's the first point. The second point was about confidentiality. And one of the things we are exploring and is not using something like an offsite ChatGPT. That is generally a non-starter. We cannot use those systems. We have to have AI systems that are on premises, that are controlled by the jurisdiction that controls that data so that they are sure about it and they are comfortable about it. One of the things we're learning is that we have to be very careful even about using the term AI, because the concern is so great that they have already been banished. We can talk about natural language processing. We can talk about specifics, but as soon as we use the word AI, they say, we're not allowed to use AI. Stop talking about it. So we have to, so teaching people what the various aspects are and what the concerns are and what the considerations are, and how we're going to safeguard their data is a very important thing that we're still learning about, and making sure that we are putting technologies in place and not accidentally creating a security problem along the way. The third question related to was the having an easy to use interface and what that means when you don't have to be an expert in software technology. And there, my biggest worry is that the ease of use creates a comfort with the data that is undeserved. That you ask the system a question and it gives you back an answer and you take it at its word. I'm a software developer. I use something called Copilot, and Copilot helps me write software. It suggests code for me. As I write, it's suggesting stuff. And I find that I sometimes just, yeah, that looks right. And I go with it. I accept what it said without questioning whether it was right. Now, I have a computer program. I'm going to learn very quickly that what I just accepted was wrong because it won't work. But if I'm using a tool to write some legislation and it's suggesting something to me, I don't have a way to execute that to see that it is wrong. I'm going to take it at its word. And how do I safeguard against that and not be making bad suggestions and create a complacency on the part of the drafter where they are accepting the suggestions of the system because it looks right, but it's really not. And I think that's one of the real things to guard against. Even to the point, I use Copilot to write code. I've switched it off because I was accepting it too often. It was becoming a nuisance because I would say, yeah, that's what I wanted. That's kind of what I wanted. Yeah, go. And then it was like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. I should have thought. I needed to not switch off my brain.
Thank you so much, Grant, for your considerations. I have to say I relate to a lot of what you just said as well. So, colleagues, we're going to the last round of questions before we conclude our panel. We have 15 minutes for the time limit, so if the responses can be a little bit more objective, I would appreciate, so we can keep on time. So I will divide my last question in two. First, Grant, I'd like to ask you specifically a question. In the future, where different artificial intelligence systems, ranging from automatic transcription or generative models or natural language processing, as you mentioned, have comprehensive knowledge of the work produced by parliamentary research departments, what innovative platforms or services could be developed to better support the members to enhance the legislative process in the parliament?
Actually, I want to go back to the question we had earlier. I think it was from someone from Mexico, and kind of draw on that. I work with drafters around the world, and usually I'm working with very senior drafters, the most senior drafters. Many times they've written legislation that is very famous, and you realize you're now working with the person who in the background was working with that. They're very knowledgeable. They have a lot of knowledge and they have a lot of experience, and they know the ins and outs of how that legislation went through, and they know what failed, and they know the historical context. They know what failed and what passed, and why it failed and why it passed, and they know how to draft new legislation that's more likely to pass than to fail. They're very knowledgeable. The problem is, almost invariably, they're about to retire, because that's what comes as you get more knowledgeable. You come closer to retirement, and then when they retire, all that institutional knowledge that they have in their head disappears. One of the most innovative systems I can think of that would address that would be systems that could provide a continuity by having that knowledge, knowing what legislation in the specific area. In the US, the one that I'm thinking of particularly was healthcare. American healthcare is always a problem. It's always an issue. There's been lots of attempts to fix it over the years. The person that I was working with wrote the most recent legislation, Obamacare. He knew all the ins and outs and how that had happened, and he is now retired. If the systems could know that, know what worked and what failed in the past, and could give you a predictive model of how your legislation is going to work, be accepted, given the current political climate versus the political climate that existed in the past when that legislation was attempted, to me, that's the most useful and innovative tool that we could provide.
Thank you so much, Grant. Just a very short comment. The colleagues from the Orectas in Ireland, some 4 or 5 years ago, they had a research on how parliaments were using different digital technologies for the websites, and they came up across a very interesting point on how all the parliaments, or a significant number of them, point out the difficulty in transmitting this tacit knowledge, as you mentioned, because you have the explicit knowledge, which is the manuals, the rule of procedure, etc. It's a little bit more concrete. You know how to pass that forward. But, for example, as you mentioned, how to manage a particular healthcare bill, on sensing the political thermometer, the political climate, on how you should phrase a particular article on that proposal. That's indeed much harder to transmit that knowledge to other generations. And with that, I'd like to invite colleagues to comment on that, starting with you, Mas, but adding two questions to this, which is how can we use different AI technologies to transform your department in the future? And with this transformation, how can the research departments can evolve, let's say, to a more proactive, generating insights, identify solutions, and shaping the legislative agenda powered by different AI algorithms using your information you're producing?
Okay, let me start by sharing how our format of research. So usually when we receive an application from the MPs, let's say one of the bills that we want to propose, Generation Endgame, to stop smoking, ban smoking in Malaysia. So because it's a new bill, but other countries have done it. So what we do is that we will compare between Malaysia, what we're trying to do, and also other countries which have done it, like New Zealand and other countries that have that similar act on banning smoking within the country. The problem is that, like I said, time consumption. It's not easy when you have like vast area of information, but you want to consolidate it within like a few pages, which will explain to the MPs before they debate in the parliamentary sitting. And just imagine for like ChatGPT, right? There's no function where you can upload documents that you think is related. So they can just pick out a specific key areas that you need in order to analyze the data between countries. Sometimes we have to do it manually, even for handset. A lot has been discussed within the parliamentary sitting. So there's no mechanism or no technology as of now, not that I know of, that can actually, for example, answer like how many times have Generation Endgame, the name of the bill, has been mentioned in a parliamentary sitting. Which MP has mentioned it? Which parliamentary setting has it been discussed? So all of these are vital information that we need in order to analyze the importance and which similarities from other countries that we can adapt to our bills before it being presented or debated within our parliamentary sitting. So if there is such a technology, I think that would help our division in producing a more thorough, accurate information that we can give it to the MPs so that they are well informed before they make a decision. That's my take on your last question, Luís.
Thank you so much, Mas, for your comments on this last question. Muralithas, would you like to answer this question as well? You're muted. You need to unmute yourself.
Yes, thank you so much thanks so much. My colleagues already explained. There are several steps, so particular gazettes and then bill will become an act. So the before the debate on the bill, so the bill has to be directed to the committee stage, relevant committee. Relevant committee will discuss a particular bill. Thereafter, committee give the approval to the speaker to take the debate of the bill. Then bill became an act. So this procedures is doing with manually in our parliament. So all the works are the paperwork like that. We are not fully digitalized. So the most of the resources are wasting the time and then the resources, the physical resources are going to waste. We are printing a lot of materials. This is a mandate. So I don't know how many using that application. So if we are converted to the digital, so we can utilize the resources also. We can reduce the paper printings. So every day, every sitting days, we print the parliamentary business agenda. So it will circulate among the member of parliamentarian and relevant staff of the secretary and the parliament. So I don't know how many of read this business of the parliament. Okay, at the same time we circulate via email also. At the same time, in our chamber, there are installed 225 laptops in our chamber, but I don't know how many members don't they are using heavily. Some members, actually, I'm saying frankly, some members forget the password of the devices, maybe. So the devices cannot be removed from the chamber, but it is fixed. But the usage of the devices are very low. So if we evaluate the usage of the devices, new devices of modern technology, so it is very less. So I don't know the people's mindset or policymakers' mindset are not. I don't know how can I say. So we have to think indifferently. The other guys also mentioned like that. So some other challenges in Sri Lanka. So among the ministries, there is no interconnected via the technology. So ministries runs in separate ministry like that. There is no any interconnection among the ministries. So this is one of the challenges in our country. Similar our parliament also. So our parliament is ready to invest on the modern technology. Using technology, they are trying to get maximum output of the product. So there are a lot of problems, a lot of issues, a lot of scarcities are our challenges. So these problems will be eradicated implementing the new policies, new laws, new act. These are the solutions. So anyway, we invite expertise. Finally, I'm saying that I've always mentioned, we hire the people, good expertise, specialists in the particular field. Not for the long term. We can invite for the short term to implement, to establish the fundamental technology, fundamental infrastructure to convert as a modern parliament in Sri Lanka also. Thank you so much. It's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Muralithas, for your comments on this topic. And Tahir, would you like to share your thoughts on this question as well? You're muted, Tahir.
Yeah, thank you so much. The question was regarding transformation and proactive generation of the legislative proposals. So as we have already discussed in last previous two questions, that definitely if we depend and will be facilitated by artificial intelligence, the only core risk involved in the artificial intelligence is the authenticity of the data. If we are so much secured and protected that we got the proper data which can be relied and authenticated, and we have the source of authentic data, then definitely it will protect us from wastage of unnecessary time to go to the paper research. We just go and get our research support from a single click, so that we can. So surely the transformation from the paper to the artificial intelligence will help us to generate our legislative proposals in proactive manner and in protecting our time as well. Or in addition to all these things which has been prescribed and in detail discussed by my colleague from Sri Lanka, that it will no doubt save the funds and the paper and wastage of time, and all these benefits are definitely attached to the adaptation of the artificial intelligence. So if we convert our parliament from paper to the artificial intelligence and software based technologies, definitely it will help any drafter to proactively conclude its proposal and draft its proposal which is placed and put before him by any of the members. That's all.
Thank you so much, Tahir, for your considerations as well. Thank you all of you for the very insightful panel discussion. I have to say you helped me a lot because I'm writing about this topic. So to get your insights today gave me so many new ideas on how different AI technologies can be helpful on this particular domain. Just before we go, I'd like to yield the floor 30 seconds to each one of you for your farewell message or any message you want to leave. I'll do this alphabetically again. Grant, would you like to share any final message?
Sure. First of all, let's just thank you for inviting me to this conversation. Like you, I am writing about it right now. You know why? So this was very insightful for me. So thank you to everyone for your participation. This is a field, of course, I'm very passionate about, and I'm very excited about where we're headed with this.
Thank you so much, Grant, for participating today as well. Mats, would you like to share your final message?
Yes, I would like to say thank you again, Luís, for inviting me in this platform. And on the second notes, I wish that there will be more participation from women, because I realize that I'm the only woman here in the discussion. And also, it's always great to have this kind of platform where we can exchange ideas and discuss about things that we are not certain of. It gives me clarity in terms of what AI is all about. And my last message should be that I do believe AI is something that we need to learn, understand, aware of. It can optimize the legislature process. And also, it's also up to us to adapt and get ready for what's coming. So more discussion about this will help, definitely. Thank you, Luís.
Thank you so much, Mats, for your participation and for the very insightful comments you brought during our discussion today. Tahir, would you like to share your final message?
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Tahir, please.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I would just extend my thanks for your usual kindness and always remembering me for this. In addition to all the participants and panelists for their patience listening and bearing my comments. I'm obliged to all of them. Thank you so much. So nice of you.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Tahir. Muralithas, please, feel free to share your final message.
Yeah, thank you so much for your good opportunity to learn a lot from the wood panels. Anyway, Mr. Luís, thank you so much. You have to keep with us, keep in touch. Anyway, you have to coordinate to build the good relationship among the parliament, among examples, the Asian parliaments, another parliament also. It might be very useful for the researchers also. Please keep in touch. Please improve our relationship among the parliament. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Muralithas. Thank you, all of you colleagues.